She left college, and now she's got huge companies after her to work on in with her business. My name is Amit Soda. Once again, I've got Sam from Eric with us today. Great to have you on board, Sam. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
It's a real pleasure, and I've had the benefits and pleasure of speaking to you for the last 10 minutes or so to understand a bit more about business. And already so excited by the amount of lessons and tips you can share with the audience on the call today. Let's start off with a very simple question, Sam. I'm calling you Eric.
No, it's fine.
You've kick us off by telling us a bit about your business and what kind of services you provide with Eric.
Yeah, so Eric is a marketplace platform in the form of an app. We help young people who are looking to get into the creative industries explore more about what those careers look like and also get access to companies that are part of the creative industries. And on the
Mm,
other side of the marketplace are those companies looking to connect with young people who want to get into the creative world. So, yeah, that's what we do.
that's what you do. And how long have you been doing that for?
So we've actually been going for a lot longer than I think lots of people think. The app itself launched about a year and a half ago now. We were
Okay.
working on the app over lockdown. Before the pandemic, we actually did run another version of Eric, which was an events company. We used to create alternative career fairs that helped young people get into the creative industry. So exactly what we do now with the app, but just in a physical events model. But
Right.
obviously, because of the global pandemic, we had to shut the events down, and that's when we decided to turn that into a tech product. So that's when the app was born.
Gotcha. So I hate to use the word, but you pivoted. After
Yeah.
it was a face-to-face kind of run event. All right, okay, lockdown's here, Corona's taken over the world. Let's go on the app. So it's a bit about what kind of successes you've been experiencing after you pivoted from doing your events on a face-to-face basis to on the app. What kind of difference have you seen in your business?
Well, we are a lot more scalable now as a tech product. I
Mm,
don't think we really understood what that word meant when we were running the events business, but being exposed to, I guess, kind of the full abilities that tech gives you and the
right,
scalabilities that tech gives you means that we're actually able to provide what we want to provide to a much larger audience on demand. So,
right,
as you will very well know, like if you are running an event, only a specific number of people can come to that event at a specific time. Whereas with a tech product, if you make it kind of on demand, people can access it wherever they want, whenever they want. So
right.
we've reached, we have a huge audience of like 200,000 young people now who, want to use our product in order to be able to educate themselves about the creative industries whenever they want.
Wow. So clearly you've scaled up significantly over the last couple of years by going from face-to-face events to being using technology. Something which affects a lot of business owners out there that listen to this is scaling. When they hear the word, right, my business is growing and scaling, oh, can't do that, can't have this many staff, can't manage all this technology, too much change. I mean, what advice would you give to business owners listening on how to cope with scale based on, how have you coped with scaling volumes yourself?
I think you said like the word change there earlier, which I think is really interesting because we are as humans so adverse to change, but
Mm,
essentially pivoting and being able to scale is by default being willing to change. Like
yeah,
you have to be willing to experiment, you have to be willing to try new things. If you are doing something and it's not getting you the results that you want, then you have to be willing to try something new.
yeah,
And so people that are like adverse to, I guess, kind of change or scalability, then, you kind of have to be happy with where you are right now, then, I suppose.
mm,
If you want something more, if you want something bigger, you've got to try new stuff, you've got to change.
yeah. That's a huge point you mentioned there because change isn't just something people do. Change is something that people become. And that change, adopting to change is an attitude, it's a characteristic, it's a change in ourselves, really. Um, Now, naturally, your business has grown huge amounts. How would you explain how have you, Sam, how have you grown as a person to adopt and keep up with your business?
Oh my gosh, that's a big question and a great question. I have changed. I am absolutely not the person that I was 3 years ago, 4 years ago, running
Wow,
the events. Yeah,
love it.
honestly, it has been like a phenomenal personal growth journey that I've been on, as well as a kind of career development journey, and
Mm.
I guess seeing our business grow, I definitely would say that I see my business as an extension of myself as a child, if you will. We've been running Eric for what, 7 years now in total. We've seen it grow from an events business, which was like the toddler years, and it's now entering its teen years in a way, in my eyes, with the app, and it's becoming like a proper, fully grown person. And I'm kind of a parent to that child,
Mm.
and parents learn things along the way. They grow as individuals, they become comfortable with being uncomfortable. I'm
Yeah.
too protective over my child, but I now recognize that I'm too protective over my child. And it's literally like, I would say, I mean, I'm actually not a parent, so I feel like that's quite an uneducated thing to say, but I would say that there are parallels between running a business for that long, seeing it kind of go through different periods of transition, and being an actual parent to a child. So I'd say I've grown as a parent.
Wow. Wow. And that's so true, because when you read all these personal development books or self-development books, they always mention or talk about the fact that our business is a reflection of us. Whatever our personal strengths and development areas are, typically normally they're reflected in the business as well. And it's remarkable how you've kind of touched on that as well, that your business is an extension of you. So naturally you work with a business partner.
Yes.
I've seen on your website, and you've mentioned it as well. Talk to me about how do you make partnerships work? There are plenty of listeners out here who probably got business partnerships. I want to kind of now bring on board a partner. What would be your top three pieces of advice on what you'd give to someone about how to make a partnership successful from your perspective?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. Really good question. Just really quickly for context as well, because I think me and my business partner have quite a specific, unique relationship.
Right.
My business partner, May, she's called May, and I have actually been best friends since we were 8 years old. So we are,
Wow.
like sisters at this point. Um,
Lucky you.
we I know. Honestly, I count my lucky stars every single day to be able to work with my best friend and to be able to get on with her while we work,
Mm,
because I think that is actually quite special. Lots of friends fall out, when they run businesses
absolutely.
together. And May and I have always we've always put our own friendship first. That is the most important thing to us. We've grown as individuals dramatically, and
Mm,
especially in terms of how we interact with each other. We did go through a bit of an awkward time, I would say, at the first like in the first like 3 years of running Eric, where we transitioned from friends to family. Um, with friends, especially with like, I think this is a bit stereotypical, but with women, I think sometimes it's not as if you're frustrated with someone, it's not as, you don't talk about it as openly as men do. So sometimes it can be a bit of a kind of underlying resentment that builds.
yeah.
We had to essentially, and we had to address those quite openly with each other. And that's when we started pushing those boundaries that we'd never pushed before. We started transitioning from friends to sisters, and when you become family, it makes it so much easier to raise issues that you have with someone, to point out things that you're finding annoying, like all of these things. So I'd say friends working together, if you can get through that period, you will come out
Brilliant.
the other side and you genuinely will be able to interact with each other so much more fluently. It just opens that conversation, I suppose, for, I guess, a good working relationship.
Interesting. So great principle you're showing, though. They've turned your friendship into family just from a communication perspective, where you're saying that be open with your communication. If there are things that are working, aren't working, or you'd like to work, say it openly. And that is a huge part of getting partnerships to work.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting. I think I really didn't know this before May and I kind of hit that period, but
Mm,
it is very hard to bring up things that you're finding difficult in a working relationship with someone who you count as a friend,
mm,
because you're worried about them getting offended when you say something, right? And they might take offense, they might take it personally. But with
yeah,
family, it's like this assumed thing that you will have it out, and then you will always go back to being friends afterwards, or family afterwards. There's no worries about falling out, because you can
yeah.
shout at each other as much as you want. You always know that you will default to being family at the end of the
Because your
day.
sisters, you can't change that.
exactly. And that's what May and I had to really work out for quite a while. But now
Yeah.
we're absolutely there and it's amazing.
And you put it so simply, just turn your friendship into family. And yet there are so many partnerships out there that don't work. And as you probably agree, that 99% of the problems on planet Earth are down to communication breakages or
Yeah.
misunderstandings, etc. And once you overcome that hurdle, you're a strong force which you and your partner have created that fingers crossed lasts forever.
Absolutely. And like one thing that I would say, actually, a quick, like, actionable tip that
Mm,
business partners can do is listen to Esther Perel, her
okay.
podcast, which talks. She basically is a therapist. She's like a kind of very well known therapist. She talks business partners through issues that they're having in their business and their working relationship. And it's this wonderful kind of open form of therapy that you, as a business owner, can listen to, and you can take nuggets of information, advice that she's giving to these business partners that she's talking to, and you can apply them to your own working relationship. I would really recommend
Right.
listening to Esther
So
Perel's podcast about that.
Mr. Perel's podcast, sharing some great tips on partnerships and kind of relationship and communication. That's amazing. Um, just going to speed up because I know we're running out of time and got a short amount of time with you. Now, you have got grown really quickly, and you've got some amazing testimonials and commitments from huge blue chip companies all over your website. How on earth did you get on to a phase or a stage where you've got big companies working for you? Because there are some business owners out there wanting to kind of work with huge suppliers. What was your secret, and what kind of tip would you share with the SME community out there on how to work with huge suppliers or customers um, like them?
Um, I would say never underestimate the power of branding. What we recognized is that there was a huge problem with companies when we first started, and when it came to, I guess, careers fairs that they could get involved in. There were
Mm,
lots of creative companies out there that wanted to get involved in careers fairs, but none of the careers fairs were branded in a way that was reflective of the brand that they felt that they were. So, for example, one of our clients is Warner Music, and we've got Penguin Books. These are very creative businesses.
yeah.
Everything that they want to get involved in needs to be an extension of their own brand. And so
Mm,
we recognize that no one was catering to that, like, kind of well branded creative aspect of what they wanted to, the way they wanted to be represented. And so I would always say, like, identify the type of client that you want to get, and then make sure that you are branding yourself in a way that they will feel comfortable with as an extension of their own brand.
wow.
A company is also their suppliers. It's not just that brand that they are, it's
Yeah.
whoever they use as well.
Company and suppliers are one thing. That's an amazing takeaway. And when you just said that, a huge blinding flash of the obvious, or not really obvious, but you just helped draw a really good conclusion over there. You know, you mentioned earlier on, that your partnership with your friend May grew into a family when you started listening to each other and kind of improving your communication. And kind of in a strange way, that learning seems to have translated over here, where you really listen to your suppliers like Penguin and Warner Brothers and started being what they wanted you to be and kind of bridge the gap of your brand being the same as them and your company being an extension to theirs.
Yeah, absolutely. Genuinely, and listening to the clients that you want to have is
Mm.
is incredibly powerful.
So
So
what's
yeah.
next for you? If you were to summarize in a minute, because you've got so many good clients on board that you're working with, what would you say are your next 3 to 5 year plans for your own growth under
Oh,
Eric?
that's a big question. Global domination, of course. We want to get the Eric app out to every single country across the world eventually. We know that it's a problem that it needs to be solved worldwide. It's not just the UK. It's just we happen to be based in the UK, so that's where we start.
Mhm.
Um, we would also like to restart our events. That's kind of like a little, like, personal dream of ours, because we loved doing the careers fairs. They were so fun. So we do want to get the events on back
Great
up
buzzing
at
careers
some
fairs,
point.
isn't there?
Yeah, exactly. We love doing them. So but yeah, I'd say we're relaunching the app within the next year. There's going to be a lot more features on it. It's going to be a lot more personalized. But yeah, I guess those are the kind of big things.
Amazing. And then final question to you. To achieve your global domination, What would you say are going to be the top three challenges that you as a company are likely to face?
Oh, good question. I think competition is always a big one for every business. We do know that there's a big company in America called Handshake that are kind of they're not doing exactly what we do, but they're very close to doing
Right.
what we do. But if anything, that's market validation. We actually don't really see competition as a negative thing. We just see it as a positive thing that the problem is needing to be solved. Um, I think for us, we get very excited with new projects. So focus is always a bit of an issue. So we probably will end up being like, let's open in all the countries all at once. So
Yeah.
we've got to rein ourselves in. It's that self-awareness piece that I think really helps in business. And I think those are probably the big ones. Yeah, I can't think of a
Brilliant.
third.
Love it. If I can squeeze one more question out from you, if I can, and it's going to be a really good one for everyone listening. If you could restart your entire business journey again, what one piece of advice would the new, more mature Sam give to the one that started out initially?
That is such a good question. I would say focus more. I think as a business owner, when you really care about the business that you run, like quickly, May and I started what we do. The problem that we are solving is actually one that we experienced ourselves, which is why we are
Right.
so passionate about it. Um, and when you are that passionate about business, it's really hard to focus, and it's really
Mm.
hard to be like, we are catering to a really specific audience, and we're going to start there, and then we're going to open it up wider. It is really easy to be like, we just want to cater to everyone all at once. Everyone could do with our product. Every business could do with our product. And that just makes you so directionless. So if I could
Mm.
do it all over again, I would say to myself, you need to focus on one audience at one time and just nail that down first. So I think every
Amazing.
business could probably do with that advice.
And hey, look, I can see that time and time again. So focus is one of the most important attributes anyone successful that you interview is going to talk about. But with that, Sam, we're going to leave it there. You've shared 1.5 pages of wisdom with me. I'm going to have no trouble turning this into amazing content for people to listen to. But once again, Sam, we wish you amazing success, global domination when we talk this time next year. And thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.